Good evening. Bonus era. It's like, what is it, 7:05? Oh, hold on, I've got reverb on. Why do I have reverb? There we go. Nice. Yeah. Good evening, good evening. It's middle of the day, for a lot of folks. It's 7. I've been up for like 14-ish hours right now, which is not too bad. I hope you all doing well. So today I'm going to try something a little bit different, because I haven't done team building in a hot minute. But recently I participated in a Little Cup tournament, which was a lot of fun. Yeah. Pokemon time. It's always Pokemon time, in my mind. But yeah, recently I participated in a local that was a Little Cup tournament to herald the end of the current regulation. And because it was the couple days after the Pittsburgh Regional, which a lot of folks were traveling back from. So they wanted to do something low stakes, that was kind of goofy. But for me, who is not particularly skilled competitively, I guess more so than average, but less so than people who go to these things, I was like, oh, this is something I can sink my teeth into, and I actually put a lot of thought into the team that I was going to bring, and so I thought I should try my hand at one of those team report style videos that you see folks like Cybertron or Moxie Boosted or James Bake do, things like that. So I wanted to talk about my Little Cup team. But yeah, first of all, welcome Sarah, welcome Pix. Nice to see you both. I also have a new channel redeem, if you're interested. It is Who's That Pokemon, and it is as described. You can click the thing and type in the name of a Pokemon, and I will do my best to identify it by sound alone, without trying to peek at chat or anything like that. So feel free to use that throughout the stream. It should be hooked up and working for all, like 1,017 Pokemon that there currently are, give or take, I think. So let me know how that works, or just try it, or don't. It's your choice if you want to disrupt me or not. But yeah, so Little Cup, to get started with the concept of what is Little Cup. So Little Cup is a format where you're restricted to Pokemon that can evolve, but have not yet. And typically in... well, that would be Cricketune. I'd recognize that guy anywhere. Herald of Gen 4. One of the most iconic sounds that I think came out of that game. Probably the most iconic cry from that game. Next to maybe like Togekiss, I think. But that's Cricketune. The diddly-wop. Very, very good. I like that sound. And that came through, right? That was on that should be on the Sound Redeems line, so I hope you go all hear that as well. Seemed like fun. Seemed like a fun thing to have. You didn't hear it on stream, really. That's no good. Can you try it again? I can try it again. Let's do... No, that's fine. I mean, it's not like I'm here to... if I were here to do a video with no interruptions, I would just do a pre-recorded video, right? Now hold on, do my other sound redeems come through? That came through. One moment, please. Who's that Pokemon? Is there like a cooldown on this? What's going on? I definitely tested this more than once. You're right. Hold on. You didn't hear it on stream. I can fix this. Who's that Pokemon? Edit. Sound. This comes through... there we go. Sorry, I'll have to refund you your, like, whopping 151 points. Yeah. The Torkoal one is more expensive, even though you can get it for the cheaper with this. Okay, hold on. There you go. You heard that one, I'm sure. Okay. My mistake. I had it routed through the wrong sound device. I've got all my audio cables split out so that I can... oh. Is that like a Corviknight evolution? Is that like the middle Corviknight? There's Rookidee. I don't remember what the middle one's called, and then a Corviknight. It's like Squire something. What is it? Oh, Honchkrow, okay. No, okay, that one I wouldn't recognize. Murkrow I would recognize, though, because as you might see, the team here is called Murkrow's Last Hurrah. because, for reasons we'll get into. But yeah, so Little Cup is Pokemon that can evolve, but have not. That's very chalky. Rock type or... It's not Garganical. It's not Tyranitar, it's not Gigalith. Is that Lando? You'd think I'd recognize that one if it's Lando. Oh, nice. Swing. Alright, cool. It is Lando. I'm pretty happy with that. Welcome, by the way, Tom. Welcome, Youthless. Youthless, I haven't seen you in a hot minute, by the way. I'm happy to see you back. It's always nice to see a familiar face. Welcome home. Okay, so this third time's the charm. Little Cup. Pokemon that can evolve but have not yet. So that excludes things like Torkoal, which don't evolve, or legendaries, which don't evolve. But it also means you can't use, like, Clefairy. You have to use Cleffa. You can't use Togetic. You have to use Togepi. You can't use Poliwhirl. You have to use Poliwag. Things like that. And so the whole meta is balanced around that. Typically it's played at level 5, but because this is a VGC-centered, like, local, and everybody here who plays the VGC, the rules were just level 50, as is the way for competitive Pokemon. So this was a doubles tournament. Pretty much the only rule was you had to use Pokemon that were available pre-DLC, and they had to be Pokemon that can evolve but did not. And similarly with other rules, no, Duraludon doesn't get an evolution until the next DLC, so he is not currently a baby Pokemon. You are correct. No one let me use Duraludon. But anyway, this team actually, despite the name, formulated around our first guy here, Dunsparce, because back in Regulation A, I had actually hatched up a scheme. I wrote some notes for this also. Let me record those, or let me pull those up. That's Drowsy, right? Or Hypno? That's Hypno. Yeah! I love that one. I love that one. That one I recognize. That's a really iconic one as well from Gen 1. Okay, so the team actually originally formulated around what we're looking at right here, Dunsparce. Because back in Regulation A, I got really excited when they gave Dunsparce an evolution. And I wanted to build a team around it back before they had, like, power creep with legendaries. Also, by the way, hello, Ert. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And I don't remember if I said hello to you, Sari, but I'm always very happy to see you. So, anyway, Dunsparce here, right? They gave him an evolution in Gen 9, Dunsparce, which is just like Dunsparce++. It gets 1 or 2 more segments on its little body. It gets, like, a nice stat increase. Otherwise, pretty much exactly the same. It's still mono-normal. It has Serene Grace, typically, which doubles the chance of on-hit effects happening. Still really slow. Its most noteworthy thing is that it gets, like, a lot of HP, right? So my plan for this, the thing that I wanted to do, and the reason I like formulated this whole team, was I wanted to make use of its hidden ability, which here is Rattled. Typically, people who run Dunsparce run, or like would be Dunsparce. Nobody runs Dunsparce, and nobody runs Dunsparce either. But typically, you'd run this ability Serene Grace, which means the moves that have their secondary effects chances doubled. So like if you use Flamethrower, typically has a, what is it, 10% chance to burn, it would be a 20% chance. Rock Slide goes from a 30% chance to flinch to a 60% chance to flinch. Fortunately, mercifully gated by how slow the Pokemon is, it can't usually move first to make advantage of those flinches, or take advantage of those flinches. But Dunsparce gets a very funny, typically useless hidden ability that is shared with like a lot of other baby Pokemon, and that is Rattled here. So as you can see, its speed is raised by 1 stage. It gets a +1 every time it's hit by a Bug, Dark, or Ghost type attack, or Intimidate is used. This means that if you were to hit it with enough of those types of moves, you could raise its baby little speed stat from 81 to, first it's a 50% boost, and then it doubles, and then it's, was it 2.5, then 3, then 3.5, then 4, and eventually you'll have 4 times your speed. So, the combination that came to mind for me, and it's why this Pokemon is nicknamed Annihilate, despite being a Dunsparce, is because I was thinking, what if you proc Rattled a lot? What if you really, really want to juice your Rattled ability to make yourself go really, really fast? An important note also, as I'm going on a tangent here, is that speed is calculated dynamically in the later generations, I think as of Gen 7, which means that if your speed is increased before your opponent moves, or like during a turn, it is reevaluated. If Dunsparce starts the turn, locks in a move as the slowest guy on the field, but before anybody else moves, something happens that makes him much faster, say Tailwind is used or Rattled is procced enough, he will then move second. Or, sorry, in this case, she. This is a female Dunsparce I had. And I hatched a shiny one way back in, like, December for Regulation A. Or whenever they did that. So I was really happy to try and get to use this. So speed is calculated dynamically. If you can get enough procs of Rattled off before your opponent moves, you can go before them, even if you were slower than them at the start of the turn. And so, anybody who's watched VGC, or has played a little bit of competitive Pokemon, will probably recognize there is in fact a Dark move that can be hitting this guy multiple times in a row. And we care about Dark, that's one of the types that triggers the ability. And that comes from Beat Up, which is a funny little move that used to be the signature of Sneasel, and it is a move that hits once for each member that is not fainted in your party. They have dynamic base power based on, I think, the attack stat of each individual member of your team, and so in VGC, in the context of doubles, it will hit 4 times, because you have 4 people that you brought with you. And so what this means is now, we can side target our Dunsparce here, trigger Rattled 4 times, which triples our speed. It's a 1.5, then 2, 2.5, 3, which brings its 81 speed up well above anything you really have to worry about. What 8 times 3 is going to be, was it 240 speed? Something like that, right? 81, yeah, 243 speed. Way faster than anything else in Little Cup, even with Tailwind, like, by and large. So you're limited by the speed of the thing that triggers this, because as I was saying, speed is dynamic. You want the thing that can use Beat Up to be the fastest thing on the field, so then it can make Dunsparce even faster. The additional bonus of triggering Rattled a lot is I would Terra Psychic, change myself from normal type to Psychic type, and also get use out of my Weakness Policy hold item, which would then give me a +2, i.e. doubling both of my offensive stats. On top of this, Dunsparce learns the Psychic move Stored Power, which is a baby 20 power move that gets +20 power for each +1 stat you have. So we just established Rattle is going to get +4, and Weakness Policy will also give you another +2 in attack and +2 in special attack, totaling a +8 or a bonus 160 base power, which then brings this up to 180. If we are Terraing Psychic to make use of our Weakness Policy, then we get another 1.5 bonus on top of that, and even though Dunsparce has a very, very middling special attack stat of 65, even when maxed out it's only 128, we double that, and then we have a very, very high power base move, or high base power move. This was like the core concept that this team was built around. I had wanted to use these guys since Regulation A. I originally had it as the Dunsparce and Mousehold as the nicknames, and Mousehold was the beat-up user, because they have a very, very poor attack stat and they are very, very fast. Unfortunately, Baby Mousehold's stats are very bad, and I don't think it learns beat-up, if memory serves. But if nothing else, it's just not fast enough, right? So I had to look for alternative users of beat-up. Everything else on Dunsparce here is basically filler. The plan is to just be able to use a really big stored power, and then Hyper Voice is good. Spread damage, same type attack bonus. Flamethrower we'll get into shortly. But yeah, basically we came up with, we have Mousehip at home. So I needed to figure out a guy who would be able to use Beat Up quickly. And so naturally I thought of, who's the guy who's got Beat Up? Whose move is that? And the answer is it's Sneasel. It's Sneasel's signature move from Gen 2. In fact, that's every person that learns Beat Up gets it as an egg move from Sneasel, pretty much. And so Sneasel is incredibly fast. It is the fastest thing in the Little Cup meta. No unevolved Pokemon is faster currently than 115 base speed, bringing up to 183. Remember this number, it'll be important later. But the problem with why I couldn't use Sneasel, not just because it felt unsporting to use such a strong Pokemon, but because it gets the same type attack bonus, because it's a Dark type, on Beat Up, and it also has a monstrously high physical attack for a non-evolved Pokemon at 95. If you were to max out both of these, you'd have 147. Even if you didn't max it, you still have 115, which is really, really high. So the problem with Sneasel is it would just kill Dunsparce. Or if not, you would leave Dunsparce so weak that it couldn't take another hit. Hello! Hi, how's Japan treating you? I'm glad you're able to tune in on your vacation. Thank you. So the problem with trying to use Sneasel, even though it would be very fast and guaranteed that Dunsparce would always move second, and then later in subsequent turns first, it would probably just knock out Dunsparce if it were hitting super effective with beat up. So I had to find the next best thing. And it turns out that next best thing, not ironically, but strangely enough, is Girafarig. As a kind of a just chilling, while my travel partner's working her way through sleep. This rate, it looks like she's gonna sleep the full 5 turns. Oof. Yeah, you got that one guaranteed turn of sleep, but after that, it's a 50-50, and then you got the full 5 turns. If only your partner were Girafarig, who could potentially have the ability early bird here, and then halves your sleep time, rounding down. But unfortunately, it sounds like they're not. Mine doesn't have this ability either. But yeah, so as a kind of a sidebar, the general thought process I had when building this team, because I have not played Little Cup, and I had no idea what to expect for the Little Cup meta. I pretty much just went down the list of Pokemon that evolved in later generations, because they were originally designed as one-offs, so their stats are typically alright. Dunsparce definitely like the worst off of Pokemon that are like that. Yeah, thank you. I'll touch more upon that later. Like, Dunsparce has a big fat HP stat and some decent defenses. It's really slow. Its offenses are pretty poor. But, like, whatever. It's a fine one-stage Pokemon. It's cute. The shiny is pink. And if I Terra Psychic, it's even more pink. And then I get to use Stored Power, and I get some kind of bonus because it's pink. But basically, my team was originally comprised of, like, Pokemon that didn't evolve until later. Like Girafarig, for example, also didn't get an evolution until Gen 9 here. So its stats are actually alright. It's got very solid defenses at 65 apiece. Surprisingly good speed at 85, one of the faster things in the Little Cup meta. And its HP is nothing to laugh at either. Love this guy, yeah. I'm a big fan of Girafarig. His evolution goes crazy. I'm really glad that he was brought to Worlds and made it to second place in Worlds. Farigiraf, with its powerful capabilities in Trick Room and ability to stop priority moves. Really, really good stuff. But, like, I was pretty sure that I'd have a Girafarig on my team in some capacity. I didn't think it was going to be in the support role where I was using beat up on my ally. But it's funny how things work out. With the Eviolite item, which is an item you can give to not fully evolved Pokemon, and it will give a 50% bonus in each of their defensive stats, with a even-handed distribution, that gives Girafarig almost 150 hit points and 150 in each defense, as well as 150 speed. Very, very well-rounded. 150 is a hard number to beat. So this is the fastest thing I could find that wouldn't just knock out my Dunsparce with beat up. And so the plan would be, you lead with these guys, mouse hold the Girafarig here, running inner focus, so they're immune to flinches, would target beat up into Dunsparce. Dunsparce would then become extremely fast, move faster than either of the guys on the opposing side of the field, and knock them out in one shot with a Stored Power. To me, this was like a beautiful plan. We had Helping Hand for subsequent turns, so you could boost up the power of the other moves even further, and then just some good coverage moves, because the special attack stat on Girafarig isn't too bad. It's like 111, perfectly serviceable for some good chip damage. In practice, when I brought this team to the tournament, and I came in second place, I did not bring Dunsparce even once. It did not seem like the right move ever. And the reason for that is because, while Girafarig and many other members of my team, as I'll explain, cannot be made to flinch thanks to their ability or hold item, Dunsparce doesn't have that luxury, and Fake Out was very, very prevalent in the meta that I played. Sneasel was running it, Makuhito was running it, lots of guys. Yeah, Inner Focus is very good in this meta. Very, very, very good. And you'll see I've got Inner Focus on my Girafarig, I've got Inner Focus on my Mudbray, I have the Covert Cloak, which prevents on-hit effects on Murkrow, and then I've got my Misdreavus, which is a ghost type and cannot be faked out. So the only 2 Pokemon on my team that are susceptible to fake out, unfortunately, were like my 2 sweepers, my Dunsparce and my Charmander, and one of them had to go first, and so it never felt like the right thing to do. All that said, I went for like a spread here where I had enough speed to outspeed even Sneasel and Tailwind. I put everything into special attack and then the remainder was in HP. Pretty straightforward. I was like, yeah, that's cool. Despite this being the Pokemon that the team was formulated around, it just didn't seem ever proper in the 6 or so games I played. Makuhito is pretty cool. Yeah, right? I was really sad, because this guy was, like, bred to be a fighter, and I got a shiny and everything, and I love it, and it's very cute and pink, and I had a really good nickname inspiration that translated well to the rest of the team as well, but I ended up not really bringing these. I did bring Mousehold once, because with tank stats like 150 in each defense with Eviolite and 150 HP and 150 speed, and, 150 coffees, 150 pizzas, 150 taters, etc., 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 this guy can do some stuff. It's a good pivot. But really, the core of my team here kind of crystallized around the remaining four, which I brought to almost every match and almost every series, like almost every game and every match, I should say. The remaining four guys, and they go crazy hard, and I'm really, really happy with how this turned out. I think I immediately know how I could have ended up winning the whole tournament if I had done a little bit of different investment in my team spread, or rather the EV spread for some of my guys, and I'll talk about that in a moment. By the way, if anybody for whatever reason wants to rent this team to play against with your friends, you will not survive on ladder with this, but the rental code is at the top. It'll be up for a good long while. You can rent this team. They're fully trained. They got all the moves, etc., etc. If you want to have a fun romp against your friends' Little Cup team, it would be a good time. Yeah, so I don't think there's much more to say about Girafarig. Just they're like a sturdy Pokemon. They've got a lot of defense. They don't do very much damage. They just got some good spread chip. But I had no idea what to bring. I knew that nobody would run Wide Guard in Little Cup because the move is like extinct in like the VGC meta, and I just don't think there's any. Like, Makuhita is the only Pokemon I can think of that is Little Cup compliant that learns Wide Guard, and I'm sure you're not going to use it. I don't think I fought anybody who did. So the team crystallized around the remaining four Pokemon. I brought... These are kind of in a weird order, so I'm going to start with Murkrow. Murkrow, for fans of the channel, is a Pokemon that I've believed in forever. In fact, the Murkrow that I brought to the Little Cup tournament is the very same Murkrow that I got to Master Ball rank with in Regulations A, B, and C. Because Murkrow is very good, and Murkrow is very good because of its ability Prankster, which I've talked about at length. So, Prankster means if you're using a status move, it is now a priority move. Very cool. And specifically, if it's a targeted priority move, Dark types are immune to it. So, other Dark types, or other Prankster users can't taunt Murkrow. Murkrow will pretty much always get its moves off. Because if it was a Prankster user, the only way to get taunts to go fast enough would be to have Prankster, and because Murkrow is a Dark type, it would be immune to that. Super, super good. Like, you will always get your status moves off. I gave it the Covert Cloak to round out the set of being immune to Fake Out, because I knew my... That's one I recognize. That's Murkrow right there, baby. I knew that my win condition here, the way that this team was shaping up, was going to be hyper offense. Typically, I play like a Trick Room, kind of cerebral, like setup-oriented team, because that's how I think for like the big boy competitions. I love Trick Room. It's very difficult to be the fastest Pokemon all the time, but it's very easy to be the slowest. You can sack your speed stat really, really well, but there's always speed creep, and people will figure out ways to be faster, which is why I like Trick Room. It's a very powerful win condition. But in Little Cup, I figured, there's no way I can know who's slower than what. Like, I don't want to figure it out. Because everybody's got these middling, like, 20 to 30 base speed stats. It's too hard. So I went for hyper offense. And so, to me, the face of that in Little Cup would be Murkrow. They get the evolution for Honchkrow, which I think was a sound that was played earlier in the stream. And as such, their stats are really good. Because they were also a one-off Pokemon. They have 60 HP, whopping 85 in both offenses, 91 base speed, which I don't need to invest anything into, because they're almost all priority moves, so I can go even-handed in both of my defenses. In my VGC run, this guy was the one holding the Eviolite to give a 50% boost to both defenses. Here, I didn't think it was quite as important. I kind of wanted to just stack on the Girafarig and make it as tanky as possible. And I figured Murkrow would really only need to exist for 2 turns, in theory. And then it could be fainted and swap out to something. So to that end, I gave it Tailwind, the bread and butter of a hyper offense team. This doubles your speed for 4 turns, including the turn it's cast on, which is why Prankster Tailwind is like the greatest of all time. We were using Murkrow in Regulations A, B, and C because we wanted a taste of Tornadus. Like, just this guy was fighting up against, like, Paradox Pokemon and Legendaries because the ability to get Tailwind off before anything else is game-winning in and of itself. Because speed is dynamically calculated, having a move that doubles everybody on your side's speed be a priority move, meaning it will guaranteed move before everything else, means your team effectively just has double speed from the get-go. And that's extremely powerful. So I need to be immune to Fake Out because I really, really wanted to get that off. My single attacking move is Snarl. This did way less damage in practice than I was expecting. I previously had Foul Play on here, which is a damaging move that does damage based on your target's attack rather than your own, which made sense in a VGC setting where Murkrow is like the weakest thing. But here I thought with 85 in each offense stat, Murkrow is probably going to be decently strong. And I was wrong. This did like almost no damage. The lowering of special attack I don't think really factored into anything. The meta I fought was largely physical attackers. So I had Tailwind, I had Sunny Day to invoke Sun, because I've got really good synergy with Charmander, who I'll talk about next. And then I had Haze because I had no idea if other people were going to try and set up, and I had no idea what my last move should be. So Haze just eliminates all stat changes, good or bad, for everybody on the field. Seemed like a good thing to have. So my immediate thought for this guy was, if I can double speed and invoke Sun, what's the highest level of damage I can possibly milk out of that with a partner Pokemon? And the answer... good old Generation 1. Charmander, baby. So, nicknamed Chi-Yu after his similarly fiery counterpart in the later meta, I decided that Solar Power was the way to go here. As late as Regulation C, I was trying to use Sunflora in actual VGC on my Trick Room team because of this ability. It's insanely good. If there's Sun, your special attack stat is 1.5 times what it normally is. This is not a stat stage, so it cannot be hazed off. It cannot be ignored by other abilities. It cannot be, like, lowered otherwise. It's just a flat 50% bonus if there is Sun out. I've then given it the Choice Specs hold item, which is another 50% bonus on your special attack. So we're stacking 2 of those. And then if it's Sunny out and you use a Fire move, that is also a 50% bonus on damage. And you get same type attack bonus, which is a 50% bonus. So we're looking at Heat Wave's 95 power times 1.5 times 1.5 times 1.5 times 1.5. Which to me seems like the absolute highest, most brainless way I could do damage in a meta that I knew nothing about. It seemed like the safest option. I could bank on nobody running Wide Guard. And as long as I didn't run this guy in the lead, and I had somebody else tank up the front, I didn't have to worry about getting faked out and then doubled into, and not being able to use my move. Real quick, what is the power on Heatwave if we do that? So it's 95 times 1.5 for solar power, times 1.5 for choice specs, times 1.5 for this Sunny boost, times 1.5 for the same type attack bonus. So that'd be a base 480 power move, and then there's a modifier in doubles of 0.75 because it's a spread move. So 360 base power, stronger than Explosion, is what I would get out of Heatwave. I don't even want to talk about Overheat. I never clicked it. I pretty much only used Heatwave the entire tournament because it was just so strong. So my entire strategy here revolved around getting those 2 moves set up with Murkrow, and then having something in the front that would eventually become Charmander, and then clicking Heatwave until I won. And this worked extremely well. I was able to get multiple double knockouts, like one-hit double knockouts on both opponents during my... Yes, there were crucial Heatwave misses. In my finals match, I missed a Heatwave against a Fuecoco that I needed to knock out very, very badly. I missed a Heatwave, and I missed 2 Snarls in a row, which are all 95% accurate moves. But it is what it is. That's not why I think I lost, though. I think there are other things I could have done differently to prevent having been in that situation. The misses are unfortunate. Oh, sorry, Heatwave's 90 accuracy. 10% chance to miss. Snarl's only a 5%. But yeah, I had some crucial misses. It is what it is. Okay. So, the pieces are kind of coming together here. I'm like, hyper offense. I think Charmander's the most possible damage you can do with a single move in Little Cup. It seems like a lot of fun. People became very scared of it very quickly. To round out the set, I went back to the strategy I had of just looking at guys who had really, really high base stat totals. Mudbray, despite being designed as a baby Pokemon initially, has really good stats. Base 100 attack. He's only 10 less than Scyther, who I'll talk about later as, like, the Bill Watkins age 6 of the Little Cup world. But we're looking at almost 170 attack out of the gate. Decent offense, or rather decent bulk with 70 HP, 70 defense. Very weak special defense, and very low speed. I decided, much like Charmander, if I'm going for hyper offense, I want to be able to just power this up as much as I can. Choice Band is the item, and then I gave it Inner Focus because I was terrified of Fake Out. I figured this would be my lead next to Murkrow, and then Terra Grass because it makes you no longer weak to water, and you can eat things like Spore. Because there is Baby Amogus in the meta. You cannot escape the mushroom no matter where you go. So yeah, we had Mudbray, seemed really good. Earthquake, super, super strong. It doesn't get like the crazy boosts like Charmander does, but it's still a very strong move. You get same type attack bonus and Choice Band, and then just the slight modifier on it being a spread move. So I was like, okay, cool. Pick some decent moves, mindlessly click that. Murkrow is a flying type, so if you lock in an Earthquake, you're totally safe. Yeah, Mushroom's always good no matter what you do. Though I did beat all of the Mushrooms I fought, because of this Grass Terra, actually. Yeah. So the Grass Terra was very, very powerful here, because it let me be immune to both Rage Powder and to Spore, which came in handy. I was able to eat a couple of those with a Fortuitous Terra. I actually found myself clicking Rock Slide more often than Earthquake here, just because the things that I was fighting were often Sneasel, who is an Ice type, and Scyther, who is a Bug Flying type. Neither of those guys like being hit by rocks. They don't mind Earthquake, though, Scyther being fully immune to it. So I was actually not getting the full mileage out of this guy. But overall, definitely MVP. The finals match for me came down to losing to Sneasel, and I blame that entirely on my speed investment here. I don't know why I did it like this. This doesn't make any sense to me in retrospect. I don't know what I was hoping to survive with 116 in special defense, but if I had maxed out my speed here instead of having 82, and I went for maximum and went up to, like, all the way, I guess that's as good as you get, 98. Then in Tailwind, I would have been faster than Sneasel, and I could have gotten Rock Slides off, and been very, very threatening. But unfortunately, I was slower than Sneasel, so this guy got one shot in my finals match, and was not able to do any damage, and it was very, very sad. So I believe that is exclusively why I lost. I should have done max speed, commit to the bit of hyper offense, but it is what it is. Great Tusk overall, great Tusk the Mudbray. Came in clutch, did huge damage, very, very cool. And so my final guy, I was like, okay, I'm imagining a situation where I lead with Murkrow and Mudbray, because both of them are immune to Fake Out, so they're a great lead. Inner Focus also makes you immune to Intimidate, by the way. Super, super good on a physical attacker. So you're just, like, totally fine. You can lead completely fearlessly. You get Tailwind up. You do big damage until you can't anymore. One of you gets knocked out and comes in to replace, and is replaced by Charmander, and you're just fine. So I was imagining a situation where I'm locked into Earthquake, Murkrow goes down after setting up Sun, and I need to send in Charmander, which is why Charmander has the Terra-type flying. I was like, if I'm locked into Earthquake, I need to be able to just not hit my own guy. At that point, I would Terra flying, we'd be immune to Earthquake, and we can just lock in our spread moves and ride out Tailwind and hopefully just win before those conditions run out. But then for my last guy, I was like, so what's the other trick I can have to be immune to Earthquake if I'm locked into it? And I was looking for a guy who had Levitate. And there are only two of them, only two Pokemon that meet this criteria in all of Little Cup, and it is Misdreavus and Ghastly. And the original version of this team that I had up until 3 hours before I went to go compete featured Ghastly. And you might be wondering why Ghastly, and I can actually talk about that. I was so sure I was going to bring Ghastly, all the way up until, like, moments before. And I'm really glad that I didn't, because I would have lost immediately. So Ghastly has a funny little stat distribution of no bulk whatsoever, 30 HP, 30 defense, 35 special defense, but much like Mudbray, has a whopping 100 special attack, which gives you, as we saw with Mudbray, with correct investment and like a modest nature, 167 offense here. Very, very good. Like, insanely good. So I was like, okay, cool. I give this thing like a Focus Sash, you get like one good hit in, and you're good. I don't know why I thought that was the plan. This thing cannot exist in a doubles format. In singles, I think it's viable in Little Cup because you can make it fast enough to outspeed everything and then just one-shot with a choice item. But in doubles where you can't one-shot both guys unless you're doing insane Charmander shit, it's just not going to work. So I decided that's not the plan. I went back and I brought out Misdreavus with her extremely good stats. Another Pokemon that was not fated to evolve until later in Generation 4 when she became Mismagius. But we've got our 60 defense, 85 special defense. So we've got 100 physical defense, 125 special defense. I gave her the Assault Vest for another 50% bonus on top of that. And so she was kind of just like a flying tank, much like the Girafarig was, right? Very, very powerful in her own right. Speed, nothing to laugh at. I invested just enough so that under Tailwind I'd be faster than anything in the game. Even Sneasel under its own Tailwind, I believe I can outspeed here. This would give me 306, which is super, super good. I named this one after the most used Pokemon currently in all of the game, and I gave it Terra Electric because you would have no weaknesses with Levitate, and because I wanted to give it Charge Beam. I was also not sure what moves I wanted to give this Pokemon until moments before the match, or the tournament. But I locked in on Shadow Ball for a very good stab, just a reliably powerful move. Draining Kiss instead of Dazzling Gleam, because my thought process was, if it's got a lot of defense, each HP you regen back goes a really long way. This move won me my first round. This choice of this move and Charge Beam, which were originally Dazzling Gleam and Thunderbolt, this absolutely won me the first round, and I'll talk about that in a moment now that I'm almost done going over the team. So, Draining Kiss, weak fairy move, but it's a very strong lifesteal. Typically, lifesteal moves in this game are 50% of the damage dealt. Draining Kiss is 75, so it's a very high conversion on damage to HP. Very good. And then I was like, if I'm a tank, I should be using Charge Beam instead of Thunderbolt, because the difference in power is probably negligible in Little Cup. The accuracy drop is actually kind of shitty, but you have a whopping 70% chance to get +1 in your special attack every time you fire it off. So if you can sit there long enough with a combination of healing, having Assault Vest, and just being very durable, you can eventually make that Draining Kiss very strong, heal lots of your life back, and pick up knockouts in the late game, if you're going to stick around. And I am extremely grateful that I did. Rounding out the set was a move that I never got to click, but thought would be very useful in this format. Nightshade. This just does damage equal to your level. This says level 60 here because I had to check what the stats were going to be on my cartridge one to make sure that I had them correct. But in the doubles, it would just do 50 flat damage no matter what your defenses were. Seemed very good. In VGC, that's very bad because Pokemon have much higher base HP stats. But in Little Cup, I figured that would be powerful enough to at least 3-shot pretty much anything in the game. Despite that, I never clicked it once. So that's pretty much the team. My thought process here, in a nutshell, was look for guys that would evolve later because they would often have very high base stat totals. Think about strategies that worked in actual VGC and see how you can minify them down to babies. So, like, that's why they're all named these things. Like, oh, like a strong special attacker that's a ghost? Fluttermane. Powerful Earthquake Rock Slide user? Great Tusk. Priority Tailwind user? Tornadus. Monstrous Fire attacker that just gets to blast out heat waves fearlessly? Chi-Yu. And then something that beats up into its partner that stacks up lots of bonuses when it gets beat up into? Now sold in Annihilate. So, that was pretty much the plan. Ooh, Wolfie, hello. Hi. Thank you so much. National Cheeseburger. I'm more of a pizza guy myself. Buongiorno, or Buonasera in this case. I'm Skeletom, a Pokemon Professor IRL, and your undead curator here. I was just talking about a team that I'm building, or rather built, for a Little Cup tournament that I played in last Thursday. I got second place, number 2, which was pretty good. So I'm going over like the team building process here. And talking about all my strategy and stuff. And I just kind of got through the part where I go over these guys. If you're interested in the whole rental, I'll actually paste that in the chat. I have a PokéPaste too. If anybody here likes Pokemon as much as I do, you can play with the team using the rental code above. It's built for doubles in Little Cup. Little Cup being the format where you have to use unevolved Pokemon that can evolve but didn't. And so it's a really, really fun thought space because everybody's really low power overall. You don't have to worry about like power creep from legendaries or just the new guys on the block. You get to really think about what you want to do. Let me shout you out, Wolfie. Thank you so much. What were you up to. Behold, Waffles fame. Last engaging in Power Wash Simulator. Oh, that game is great. I actually know somebody who's working on it, which is pretty cool. Like, as a staff member, last I heard. That game is really good. That's like... They have a really good tech art pipeline, and they made a really good dirt shader. And they're like, how do we make an empire out of this, right? So, very cool. Yeah, so overall, when I brought this team to the tournament, I pretty much always locked in, leading with Mudbray and Murkrow. Then in the back I would have Charmander and Misdreavus. And this worked out extremely well, pretty much all the time. I've got some notes here from how my matches went, and I've got them listed as guys who are threatening in my LC threats box over here. So, game 1, I fought into a team that led with... Or the team that I fought round 1 was Sneasel, Mudbray, because they also recognize that high stats are good, Scyther, Fletchender, Fungus, and also Dunsparce. So, of the guys there, we've talked about Mudbray, we've talked about Sneasel, we've talked about Dunsparce. Fungus is the baby form of Amoonguss. They brought it because it has Spore, and it's just... You can't beat the mushroom. It's good in every format. Fletchender was an interesting choice. I should actually pull them up. Let me add Fletchender to the list. They didn't end up being a threat, but they were cool. Or Fletchling, sorry. Fletchender is the evolved form. So Fletchling has this cool ability that you'll see Talonflame be used for many generations to come. Gale Wings. Oh. If this Pokemon is at full HP, its flying type moves have their priority increased by 1. So this is the other Pokemon in Little Cup that could use priority Tailwind. But also, in addition to that, it means its moves like Brave Bird and Fly have priority. But, in this generation, only if it's at full HP. Which means that, unlike Murkrow, it can't keep cranking those out at high priority. But this was cool. They did the thing with Tailwind. They got a really big hit with Brave Bird off onto one of my guys. But yeah, this guy led with Sneasel and, I believe, Scyther. I was able to get a very, very powerful double knockout with my Tailwind Mudbray because I ended up being faster. They didn't fully invest in speed. So, like... Oh, yeah, and I wanted to talk about, like, what's Scyther's deal, right? So, Scyther is, like, the poster child for what you aren't allowed to do in Little Cup, because Scyther was never destined to evolve until later, and as such, it has these monstrous stats of a fully grown man. Like, Scyther is an adult here, and it fights among Little Cup players because Scissor exists. You have 110 base attack, 105 speed, very, very powerful defenses. Like, defenses that are stronger than Girafarig, which is crazy. So this guy is like a monster. It's held back by its weak typing, but with the power of Terastallization, you can eschew that. So I did have to fight a lot of Scythers, but I wasn't very afraid of them. Yeah, exactly. He is the Billy Watkins age 6 of Little Cup. Very strong. You can just lock in, like, Aerial Ace, whatever. I don't even remember what moves this guy had. I didn't copy his team sheet or anything. I just know I was fighting him. He brought Scyther, Fletchender, Sneasel, and then Dunsparce in the endgame. And the endgame of round 1 was extremely funny. So I fought this exact Dunsparce here. I don't know what the stat spread was, but I know it was max HP at the very least. It knew Rock Slide, Body Slam, Coil, which is a funny stat move that gives you bonus attack, defense, and accuracy. Very useful for those aforementioned 2 moves. And Roost, which is just heals you for 50%. And I believe it had lefties. So it was just healing a lot every turn. And with, like, decent defensive investment, their plan, I think, was just to stall me out of usable moves. I was able to get good hits off with Mudbray. Eventually, Mudbray fell to, I think, a Brave Bird from Fletchender. Murkrow eventually ran out of steam. And so my final matchup here was our Dunsparce, who you'll note is a normal type, with a normal type move, Body Slam, into my Misdreavus over here, who is a ghost type, with 2 ghost type moves. So it was a very, very prolonged stall battle here. Neither of us had used our Terra that entire fight, and both of us wanted to, I believe. I forget what his Terra was. I think it was Rock, to get bonus out of Rock Slide. But I couldn't, because then he'd be able to hit me with Body Slam. And if he Terra'd, I'd be able to hit him with Shadow Ball or Nightshade and just win in 3 turns. So we both couldn't use half of our moves. he continually kept trying to use Coil and Roost and Rock Slide to chip me down. If I did not have Charge Beam, and I instead had Thunderbolt, I would have lost. I fully believe I would have lost round 1. I got enough of these off that I was eventually at +6 special attack, and then I was able to clean house with Draining Kiss, and finally won in a prolonged stall match. Not being able to use Shadow Ball or Nightshade was very scary, and had they gotten a crit on Rock Slide, I think I would have lost at some point, but Charge Beam came in extremely clutch. So I think this move is very valuable in the Little Cup meta. If you've got anything like your Girafarig or your Fluttermane here, then you want it. Yeah, it was scary because he was able to get coils off too, right? The last thing my Murkrow did before fainting was using Haze, which I was also on the fence about, to purge coil, which I think mostly scared him from trying to do it again. And then, like, all we had left was Misdreavus. I needed to keep firing off charge beams and getting that stat bonus, or else I could not punch through the 50% heal and leftovers he was able to do every turn. And eventually I would just lose on stall. I would have to struggle because my moves wouldn't do anything, or I'd lose on timer, something like that. So Charge Beam came in really clutch. I eventually was able to boost my special attack to a point where Draining Kiss was healing me a tremendous amount and doing enough damage to just win the game outright. So that was cool. Game 2, I think they got a little frazzled. They led with Mudbray and Fletchinder. They immediately switched Mudbray into Fungus. Then they tried to spore my Mudbray, which is when I used my Grass Terra to fully absorb that. We got a Snarl off and a Rock Slide, which did a lot of damage. They got scared and brought Mudbray back in. I think it was... I don't know. I think they were kind of just frazzled because it didn't make sense. They could have kept Fungus in. I think it was fine. You get Regenerator healing from it, but whatever. Meanwhile, a cool thing that happened here was... What was the item that Fletchinder had? If memory serves, they did something really kind of interesting. Where they had Fletchinder... Or Fletchling, sorry. I believe it was holding a Toxic Orb? Did it know Fling? Can it learn Fling? No. Okay. I want to say it was holding a Toxic Orb. I should have written this down. Because if memory serves, it knew Fly. And so what they were doing... No, that doesn't sound right. I think this is what it was. What they were doing is, first turn they had full HP, so Fly was a priority move. Then Toxic Orb would kick in. And then subsequent turns they would not be full HP. And so Fly, while they're in the air, would stop being a priority move and they'd come down last. So they can fully dodge 2 whole turns of attacks with Fly on turn 1 when they come fresh in. Because they go from having a priority move to no longer being a priority move. I've talked about this before in like Gen 5. There was this meta called Dive Cats in Double. Which was when you got your Prankster Lipard to use the move Assist and copy Dive off of somebody in the back. And because you used Assist, it's a priority move, but then the second turn, you're just using Dive, so it's not a priority move, and then you don't go with plus priority. So you're just off the field for tremendous amounts of time. I think this guy had, like, Fly, Tailwind, and then, like, I don't remember what the rest was. Anyway, they were kind of just dancing around, and I was able to do the thing where I got my Heat Wave off, and they just had nothing that could stand to it, unfortunately. So Rock Slide and Heat Wave cleared up the day as I expected. Very, very powerful. My round 2 opponent had a much more interesting team to me, like conceptually. They had Cufant, Gothitelle, Makuhita, Stantler, Scyther, and Skrelp. So I'll talk about some of those too. They were going for a Perish Song and Traps. They had Gothita here, who has Shadow Tag, which means you can't switch if they're on the field. You'll see Gothitelle be used in full-on VGC for this purpose all the time. So that was cool. They had Cufant, which I think had... I want to say was actually running Heavy Metal. I don't remember. No, sorry. It was Sheer Force Life Orb was what it was doing. And then it just knew, like, Iron Head, Rock Slide. So a cool interaction here. Sheer Force is an ability that says if you've got a secondary effect on your move, you don't anymore, but you get 30% more power. And a weird interaction with that. So Iron Head and Rock Slide both have a chance to flinch. They wouldn't anymore, but they get 30% more power. So this is cooking kind of like how Charmander was cooking, right? where you just have a lot of power and you can kind of stack up these bonuses. Life Orb typically drains a tenth of your HP and gives you also 30% bonus. But for whatever reason, I can't explain why. If you're using a move that is affected by Sheer Force and you're holding a Life Orb, you don't take that recoil damage. You just get the extra 30% in addition to Sheer Force's 30%, but you don't take any recoil. It's like it's considered an extra effect, and it's negated, so it's very good. This was kind of scary, but I had the power of Heat Wave on my side, so I wasn't too scared. Yeah, it is kind of Steiner math. Like I was saying, like the Charmander is a 50% boost from the ability Solar Powered, 50% boost because you're using a fire move in the sun, 50% boost because you've got choice specs, and 50% boost because you're using a fire move as a fire type, which brought Heat Wave, even after its 25% reduction because it's a spread move, up to 360 base power. It is 1.5 times explosion on both guys. Like, it's super, super good. And it routinely would get a double knockout. Super cool stuff. But Qfint was really interesting. I didn't expect to see it. I, haven't thought about this Pokemon ever, really, despite how much I think elephants are really cute. So they were going for, a Trick Room, actual Trick Room team. Qfint is really slow because it's made of metal. And then they would have, Trick Room on this one. They'd do, Fake Out. Fake Out was very prevalent this tournament. My insistence on having almost all my guys be immune to it definitely paid off. You do, Trick Room. I don't remember what the other moves on this guy were, but that's basically the long and short of it. Is they'd use this one to set up Trick Room. Then you'd have powerful sweepers. They had this. They had Makuhita, who I was talking about earlier. Makuhita is like the poor man's Ursaluna in this meta. It's also got Guts, which means instead of losing damage when you are burned, your attack is increased by 1.5. Facade is a move that doubles in power if you are burned, so you can just get 140 base power off of a attack stat that is boosted 50%. I believe they ran Terra Normal for another 50% boost on Facade if they needed it. Otherwise, they were just doing, Fake Out close combat stuff. So, overall, very powerful. Skrelp is cool also. I might use this in my next Little Cup team. It is a Poison Dragon, which is fine because there's not a lot of fairies in Little Cup meta. And it has this cool ability, Adaptability, where if this Pokemon's same type attack bonus is 2. So you double the power of all of your poison or... Oh, sorry, this one's only Poison and Water, not Poison Dragon. It evolves into Poison Dragon. But yeah, so Poison and Water moves would have double power instead of 1.5. Give it a nice item, like a Choice Band, or a Choice Specs rather, and you get more out of that. If you Terra, Adaptability is 2.25 instead of 3 or 2.5 like you'd expect. But overall, this guy just had a lot of really slow, powerful sweepers. I was able to hyper offense and use my powerful heat waves and such to muscle through it. I didn't end up being scared. And so the final team that I thought, and we're wrapping up here, and then I'll open the floor to questions if anybody wants to. I mean, the floor is always open to questions. But my final team was Fuecoco, Zorua, which is the little baby form of Zoroark, Teddiursa, Grievard, Sneasel, and last one was Impidimp, the baby form of Grimmsnarl. And so I learned a lot about Pokemon mechanics here. Let's look at Teddiursa. Let's see if it talks about this in here. Teddiursa. So this guy thought about this even more than I did, clearly, because they were running Pickup on Teddiursa. On the team that I had currently, it wouldn't. I'd have to build a Trick Room team, for sure. In previous generations, I would run Dragalge, which is the evolved form of Skrelp, next to Bronzor, which is the baby form of Bronzong. Bronzor, this guy, with Levitate. And they would run Bulldoze. So they'd have this, which is a move that hits everybody. Bulldoze. Ground type. And then that would hit super effective into the Skrelp or Dragalge. You'd give them a weakness policy, like this. They have, adaptability. And then you can use Sludge Wave. This is another move that hits everybody, including your allies, but because Bronzor is immune as a steel type to poison types, it's very good. So you can trigger, get Trick Room off, with this guy, whatever. Give it a Covert Cloak, whatever you need to do. Trick Room. Then you can use Bulldoze turn 2, you'll be slower than I think Skrelp. You've got 23 base speed. It has 30, so even with no investment, you're slower in Trick Room, which means you go first. Get the Bulldoze off. Trigger weakness policy on this guy, which stacks with adaptability. So now your attacks are 4 times as powerful. Very, very good. You can use, sorry, not Sludge Bomb, Sludge Wave. Oh, does this one not learn Sludge Wave? Oh, okay, it wouldn't work in Little Cup. The Evolved form learns Sludge Wave, which hits everybody, but your ally is Steel type, so they're immune to it, right? Anyway, and then because Bulldoze also has the secondary effect of lowering the speed of everybody that gets hit, in Trick Room, hitting your own guy with it is actually very advantageous. I'd do something like that. Anyway, so here's what Pickup is all about. I remember Pickup from the games as like, oh, after a battle, sometimes your Pokemon will have an item, if it wasn't holding one, that's from a loot table, so you can like get like Pokeballs or rare candy or whatever. Cool, but surely there's no competitive use. I'm wrong. I was wrong about this, and I learned when I went to the tournament. They explained this to me afterwards. Pickup has been modified to have competitive use, as of I don't know which generation. If this Pokemon has no item, it finds one used by an adjacent Pokemon this turn, and an adjacent Pokemon is anybody in doubles. Adjacent is a term from triples, which don't exist anymore, but pay close attention to the language here. It finds one used by an adjacent Pokemon. So what this guy did is all of his Pokemon had some kind of berry, and even if you eat a berry, even if you consume the berry and it is eaten, Teddiursa can just pick it up at the end of the turn, and then Teddiursa can eat it, which is crazy. He also gave his Teddiursa Fling. Now, Fling is a move that does power based on the hold item you've got. Berries are pretty low power, but they apply the effect of the berry on the target that gets hit with them. So we've got a recycling machine here. Your guy would eat a berry, Teddiursa would pick it up from somewhere, then he could fling it back at the guy again, they would eat the berry again, and the item has been consumed, and you can pick it up again. It was pretty cool. Unfortunately, the rest of this guy is still Teddiursa, who has Teddiursa level stats that are not very good. But, yeah, he was running Misty Seed, I think? Misty Seed, or, yeah, Misty Seed, Fling, Bulk Up, I don't remember what the other moves were, I think Body Slam, and something else. Yeah, it was Dumpster. It's like, it's crazy though. You eat the berry, and Teddiursa could pick it up from anywhere. So, it was cool. Really novel concept. Had a bunch of things like that. They also ran Zorua, which didn't really matter to me. Sorry, Zorua... This one, which is normal Ghost. If I was, like, running a strong fighting type, this would be scary, if I, like, had to worry about not knowing what type it is. Zorua's kind of gimmick is that it takes the appearance of the last Pokemon that you have in your party until it takes damage. So you can, like, have this normal Ghost type pose as a Rock type, and you're like, got it, I'll use a fighting type move into it. Oh, it's immune. Or have it pose as a Ghost type, and somebody's like, oh, I got it, I'll fire Shadow Ball off into it, and it's immune. It didn't matter to me, because I was just blasting off Heat Wave here. Like, I didn't care what this thing was. I saw through its defenses pretty much immediately. Didn't really matter. Kind of cool, though. The last thing this guy ran, which I thought was really, really smart... I'll actually go all the way back here. I lost to Sneasel here, and I lost to a Sneasel that looked like this. I believe these were its moves, and the lack of the hold item isn't an omission for me. It's not that I didn't know what its item was. Remember, this is open sheets, so they would just give you a sheet that had all their stuff. This Sneasel came to the battle not holding an item, and you might be wondering, well, why? And the answer is because this is a sneaking mission, and items are procure on site. My man here is running Thief on Sneasel, a 60 power move that, if you're not holding an item, takes one from your target. And, lo and behold, Sneasel was not holding an item, so he could just take whatever he wanted. Didn't have to worry about disposing his own item first. You could just run this and grab stuff. In the battle against me, he was able to do enough damage with Thief to knock out my Mudbray, and then he got Choice Banded and became even stronger. I think after that he locked into Ice Shard, I think. Then, in subsequent matches, he would just, like... Basically, I had to dance around the Sneasel, because while I knew I could knock it out, he had the power of Fake Out on his side, and if my Charmander got faked out, it would die to the other things on the field. It just, like, could not withstand, like, an Ice Shard or anything like that. So, unfortunately, this guy had my number. Ice Shard was just simply too good. Exactly, you can just grab whatever you want. He was telling me, in the matches against me, he snatched Assault Vest off of my Misdreavus, which I, like, really badly needed. He was saying in earlier matches he snagged Safety Goggles, which made him immune to Spore, which is really cool. Yeah. Yeah, you don't just have a good stat spread. Like, the item is super important. Like, going back to all of my guys, if they didn't have the item they had, it, like, would not work. I need the choice items to do big damage. I need the EVO Light to hang in there. I need the Assault Vest to be able to hang in there. Exactly. You get it. So this is really scary. I have seen people do stuff kind of like this, where they run normal gem also. So this is a item that's a holdover from Gen 5. There used to be a gem of every type, but now there's just normal gem. The first time you use a move of that type, it gets 30% power and it's consumed. So, like, that's cool, right? And so I was telling him, if I were you, I would have had normal gem, and I would just been like, sure, then I always get fake out off, and then it's a 30% stronger fake out, right? Because it's a normal type move. And then you don't have an old item and you can use Thief. But if you guys will remember my team, where I've got Inner Focus, Covert Cloak, which makes you immune to on-hit effects, Inner Focus, and Amma Ghost type, he didn't get to use Fake Out until the very, very end. And that was my lose condition, was he was able to Fake Out Charmander and prevent Heat Waves from going off. But, like, he would have had a hold item that entire time, because he would never have gotten to use Fake Out. I was able to, a couple of times that he was going to use it, I was able to switch in Misdreavus and eat the hit, which would not have consumed the gem. So had he actually brought a hold item like I would have done, Thief would have been way less effective. It would have been much harder for him to use it. So the intelligence to not bring an item at all was really cool. Very smart stuff. I liked that. I liked that quite a lot. So this guy was able to beat me. If I had been able to fully invest in speed on my Mudbray, I think I could have won with enough Rock Slide hits. I didn't have enough speed to outspeed 183. Unfortunately, I had 81 or 83 speed or something like that, which brought me up to 160 in Tailwind. I could have gone a little further and been able to outspeed this guy. I believe Mudbray survives a single Ice Shard, but then faints to the second one. But a Rock Slide would one-shot Sneasel for sure. And his Terra type was Ice, so he couldn't just, like, dodge it with a defensive Terra. So, but unfortunately, I didn't go full speed. I don't know why I didn't. I don't know what I was planning. So he's able to very easily knock out Mudbray. Thief went crazy into the rest of my team. I, like, either would lose Fluttermane, aka Misdreavus here, because it's super effective. Or super effective into the Psychic type, Girafarig, things like that. And plus, by doing it, he would steal a really good item in either EVO Light or Assault Vest. So, like, Sneasel just had my number. And then eventually it came down to an endgame where I had just Charmander left with either Girafarig or Murkrow, and I just couldn't punch through. His real tank was an EVO Light Fuecoco. I'll talk about Fuecoco. Fuecoco is kind of cool in Little Cup also. It's got a really good ability. Fuecoco, new starter, fun little guy. Everybody knows about Blaze, where you get bonus fire damage in a pinch. Or offensive stats in a pinch, rather. But he was running Unaware, which is a very, very good ability in VGC. You simply ignore stat bonuses or stat drops. If your opponent has +6 in both defenses, who cares? If they've got +6 in their offensive stat and they hit you, who cares? I don't know. I'm not aware of it. I don't know anything about it. Do you have you know, it's really good. So it didn't come into play too much from my team, other than I couldn't charge beam my way out of this one. Unfortunately, Misdreavus was not able to girl boss her way out of this one with charge beam. And so when I lost Charmander to I forget what, I think it was just like Sneasel hitting it too hard. I missed a couple heat waves, which I needed. And then Fuecoco was just able to hang in there with bonus defenses, Unaware. It had Terra Fairy. So, like, decent defensive typing. Nothing on my team really went good into Fairy, other than Iron Head, which I lost because Mudbray wasn't fast enough. And yeah, he was just able to hang in there. Had I been able to connect my last Heat Wave, it would have, I believe, knocked out Fuecoco, and then it would have been a 2v1 as a Sneasel, and I would have also won that. But it was not meant to be. So Fuecoco wins the day. I was very happy to see it, because I do like Fuecoco. And yeah, that's pretty much my team report on Little Cup. I'm going to take some notes on this, and I'm going to try and condense this down into like a 15-minute video, I think, to put on YouTube, with some like nice good editing and stock footage and what have you. Kind of like akin to what you'd see out of like a Cybertron or a Moxie Boosted kind of thing, if anybody's interested. It seems like a good exercise in video editing and condensing my thoughts down. But the real core of it was just Charmander is very, very funny. This guy does funny stuff in the sun. You're able to hit obscenely hard if your moves don't miss, and it's fun. It costs you. Like, you are burning your life to do this damage, but it does not matter how much life you lose as long as it doesn't last 8 turns. If you knock out both guys each turn, it doesn't matter. You'll only lose a quarter of your life. I'm already thinking about how I want to add to this team or modify this team in the upcoming regulation with the advent of the DLC, the Teal Mask. I think I want to swap out Dunsparce and Girafarig. As fun as Girafarig was, I think I want to put in Vulpix, because we've got our fun little weather setters here. Vulpix is the only Pokemon in Little Cup that has a weather setting ability, as far as I'm aware, unless Snover has snow warning, but nobody cares about snow. I could summon Sun just by switching in, which is nice, because, yeah, Drought on this boy. Yeah, it's like it's Diet Torkoal. So, like, you could run Drought on this, and then also have Heat Wave or whatever. I don't think it's going to say any moves are legal, because Vulpix is not technically legal in the format that we're in right now. But I think I want to put Vulpix in as just an alternative way to set up Sun. I don't know, I'd give them, like, Heat Rock or something. Just make Sun last forever, because you want it. My strategy with Murkrow was, like, I needed something, like, I knew for Charmander I needed both Tailwind up and Sunny Day up before I could really start pumping out the damage. So I could never lead with Charmander, which led me to Mudbray, who is immune to Fake Out. Like, the pieces were all just kind of clicking together. I could spam Earthquake next to Murkrow while being immune, and then I had turn 1 to get the Tailwind up, and, like, pretty much no matter what, I would always have a turn 2 to get Sunny Day up, and then Murkrow or Mudbray could faint and I could get in Charmander, right? So that was my thought process. Like, Charmander had to be in the back after I got both status moves up. But this would also offer a nice way to get Sun up without having to use Murkrow. Yes, and Sari is correct. With Vulpix comes Alolan Vulpix, who is the same thing but for Snow. So you could do a Snow Archetype team, which is kind of cool. So I think I'd probably bring Vulpix. And then instead of Dunsparce, I would probably bring something with Chlorophyll, which is kind of limiting in the Baby Zone. I was looking at a couple options I had were Deerling, because I'm a big Deer fan. Its stats are actually not bad. It just kind of doesn't really do anything. But like 75 speed, Chlorophyll is an ability that doubles your speed in the sun. So like, it's effectively like Tailwind, right? So like I was running Tailwind to double my speed, but if I could double my speed by virtue of having the sun up, I can kind of condense that all down into one thing. I have sun, and then I can get really fast, and I can also hit really hard. So you can run like 252 on here, plus, and then, I don't know, minus. So you're looking at 139 speed, doubled would be 278, something like that, right? So pretty good. Faster than the Sneasel, once again, which is the time to beat if you want to be sure you're going to win. I just don't really know what offensive moves I'd put on this guy. Plus, as a physical attacker, I guess they'd be. They're kind of susceptible to Intimidate with already low stats. Another Chlorophyll user I was thinking of was actually this guy, Bellsprout. Because they're also not very fast, but I think they're pretty slow. But once again, with 252 plus, and then... I didn't realize Bellsprout's physical attack is higher than its special attack. That's very funny. I don't know which way you'd go with this. This might have the same problem as Ghastly, where it's just too frail to do anything. Actually, never mind. Bellsprout can't compete. Only 200 speed with Chlorophyll. That's no good. We can't work with this. It would be Deerling, I think. Would be a guy I'd run. And just go really fast. What do you get? You get, like... Horn? I don't even know what moves this thing learns. Did you learn anything? Player off Seed Bomb. This is the other fun thing about Little Cup is nothing learns any good moves. Nothing you'd want to teach it. So I don't know. But I think I'd probably slot Vulpix in. I didn't get any use out of Dunsparce. Girafarig was only good in the game against Sneasel as like a guy to just sacrifice to eat a turn of trying to fake out or whatever. And like try and do some chip damage. I was hoping Dazzling Gleam would do more into the dark type Sneasel, but it didn't really. What can you do? But yeah, that's my kind of plan. Looking forward to the next Regulation E Little Cup tournament at the end of this regulation. Yeah, so any questions? Does anybody want to talk shop about Little Cup? Tell me what their favorite unevolved Pokemon are. How I'd build a team around your favorite guy. Stuff like that. Also, by the way, for anybody who joined midway through, because I know we got a raid, I do have a new sound redeem, which is exciting. You can do this. Redeem, who's that Pokemon? And then type in the name of the guy, and it will play the sound, and I will often try and guess it. Just to be clear, Little Cup has to be unevolved, and you can't, like, toss Tropius. No, Tropius does not have an evolved form yet, so it can't be Tropius. Has to be can evolve, but has not, is the way it works. So, like, if Tropius someday gets an evolution, it will be very good. People were talking about, at the top of the stream, how would you make Dwebble the top tier champion? I'll get to you in a second, Tom. Let's see. So, people were talking about, like, oh, can you throw such and such on there? Upcoming guy, Duraludon. This guy has a stat spread comparable to fucking Tyranitar. Sorry for swearing, that'll be edited out in the later video. This guy has an absurd stat spread. It makes Scizor look like a teenager rather than a fully grown man. And why am I talking about Duraludon? It's because in the next DLC, the Indigo Disc, this guy is getting an evolution where he turns into a suspension bridge instead of a skyscraper. And so he's going to be able to be run in Little Cup with 115 defense and 120 special attack, 85 speed, 70 HP. His only short stat is special defense. You just throw an Assault Vest on this guy. Like, it's fine. So someday this guy will be legal, in theory, in Little Cup, and I expect I'll have to fight him a lot. Steel Dragon's a very good type. Still gets hit neutral by Heat Wave, I might add, though. So that strategy might still be good. I don't know. Next question was Dwebble. What's Dwebble got? Why is Dwebble illegal? Oh, because they're not in Scarlet Violet. So Dwebble has Sturdy and Shell Armor, which is kind of cool, and Weak Armor. Okay, so here's what I'm seeing, right? You can run just like I was doing on my Dunsparce. You can side target a multi-hit move to trigger Weak Armor a bunch of times to get your speed. If you hit yourself 3 times, you'd have maximum speed, and then you can go faster than anything. So you could do like, what do we want to do? You could do Terra Ghost to be immune to Fake Out, Weak Armor, Weakness Policy, side target beat up from something weak like Girafarig. You've got really good physical defense, actually. So you're going to sacrifice that, but you'll have really fast speed. If we did 252, it's completely unnecessary. At 4 times, you'll be the fastest thing on the game. You can actually invest no speed, and you'll still be faster than everything after 4 hits of Weak Armor. So you'll probably just do like 252 plus, and then 252, and then, I don't know, 4 in special defense, and then minus special attack. So you're looking at a 111 attack, which is not bad. I don't know why it has 30. There we go, sorry. 128 attack, which is the same as my Dunsparce had, actually. Decent HP stat. Your defense is going to be in the garbage because of Weak Armor, but you will be cruising around at over close to 400 speed. Faster than anything, even in Tailwind. And then you can just click, like, rock. I don't know what moves this thing learns. I'm assuming this thing learns Rock Slide. Something like that. You'd be all set. So that's how I'd run Dwebble in Little Cup. Side target with something like Girafarig. You might actually want to commit to the bit so hard that your beat-up guy has a Choice Scarf or something like that, because you really want to make this thing go fast. That is how I would run Dwebble and make them into the champion they're meant to be. Does that help? Does that answer your question, Tom? Is this useful? I hope that's useful. That's what I do for Dwebble. Let's leave the Regulation D. Hold on. Let's make a new box. Add folder, or new box. This is just going to be in national dex. Something like that. Rebel's still... Oh, because it's still Scarlet Violet. Where's my national dex? National dex. Yes, now we need Game Freak to add to it. I agree. Webble. Let's see what moves this guy actually learns. Surely you get Rock Slide, right? Yeah, okay, cool. So yeah, if you get like your speed up to like 300 and you learn Rock Slide, like you're good, right? Because then you have a 30% chance to flinch before they even get to move, and you get same type attack bonus. And if you use weakness policy, you're gonna go crazy. I think. Dwebble would be like very legit, I think. And I'd run, like I was saying, I'd run Ghost so that you get the weakness policy bonus by being hit by a dark move, and you can't be faked out. So that is what I would run. Small Live. Let's see what Small Live has. I'm gonna guess they're gonna be good for a Trick Room team. Oh, and we want to do level 50. I was like, whoa, those stats look really good. What's Small Live got? Not much. So their speed's really low. So they'd probably be good in a Trick Room team. Defenses are alright. HP's kind of low. I think you'd probably run Harvest on them. Like Citrus Berry. Like that. Actually, you know what you could do? You can run this item, Starkberry. Raises a random stat by 2 when a Pokemon is at 1/4 max HP or less. Single use. And then you could run... Please tell me you learn it. Oh, no. Okay. A fun thing to do with Harvest Havers, because they become infinite berry machines, is to use the stat boosting berries and Fling. You can do this with Trevenant, I believe. Which is a fun way to play. But you don't get Fling, so never mind. You just gotta eat your own berry. I was gonna say you could throw this at your opponent or your ally, which will give them a +2 in a random stat. You'll get your berry back, and then you can just fling it again. Just keep getting +2 boosts. I might do that. You probably learn... You do learn Weather Ball, which is nice. So this becomes a 100 base power fire type move in the sun, which you want because you've got Harvest. So you could do that. You could Terra... I don't know why it thinks Terra... Oh, it's because it's hidden power. That move doesn't exist. You'd want to run Terra type Fire, probably, to just make Weather Ball do a ton of damage. And, like, Earth Power, Energy Ball. Then you've got Fire, Grass, Ground. Really good spread like that. And then Citrus Berry. In something like a Trick Room team with Sun, could be really good. Stats notwithstanding. Speaking of Harvest, though, this is another ability I was considering for my own Little Cup team, because they also brought back Phantump, who's a cute little guy who gets 2 okay abilities and also Harvest. They don't get Fling either. I'm sure you could do this with Trevenant. But their stats are a little bit more modest, I think. Actually, I guess they're about the same as Smoliv's. 70 attack is pretty good, overall. Defenses are not bad. So I was considering running a Phantump in my Sun team as well, just to make more use of the Sun. Overall, that's kind of what I want to do. So I think Smoliv could be good in a Trick Room team. They get a lot of mileage out of their berry. Despite my experience with Charmander and Sneasel, not a lot of things were actually doing one-shot level of damage in Little Cup because the power level is just so low. And because Eviolite exists and things like that. So you'll actually get a lot of mileage out of a berry. I think you can continue to eat it very frequently, which is going to be to your credit here. So Smoliv might be cool. Anybody else got like a favorite guy they want me to talk about? What does Smoliv even sound like? Let me train my ear here. Smoliv. Did they not have Smoliv? Interesting. Is Smoliv just silent? Does nobody know what Smoliv sounds like? I thought I had all the guys. Strange, strange, strange. Okay, well that still works at least. That's important. But yeah, okay. Yeah, that's my team report. Thanks for coming to listen to my long-winded ramble about what it takes to build a team out of babies. I came in second place, a whopping 6 players, which is not like any amazing great shakes, but it felt pretty good. Because I'm usually more of an organizer. I usually run the tournaments rather than play in them. But this one got me really excited. It felt like anybody... Ooh, what's the dragon Pokemon that's like a shark? Can you run that by me one more time? I have no idea what that is. Is that like a bug? It's like Ariados? I have no idea. Oh, Vikavolt, okay. The dragon Pokemon that's like a shark head, minimal limbs. Oh, Vikavolt. That's an interesting one. I think you're talking about... Oh, Gible! I'm sorry, when you were talking about a shark head with minimal limbs, I was like, are you talking about... this guy? Who's like a shark head with minimal limbs? This is not a baby Pokemon. No, no, no. Okay. Yeah, you're talking about Gible. Gible. Gible is very easy to make viable, I think, in Little Cup. I just didn't do it, but I think you could. I'm assuming its stats are very good because it's a dragon. Yeah, 70 attack is not bad. Defenses are okay. HP is okay. It's got Sand Veil. So what you're going to want to do here is you're going to give it Bright Powder, which gives you another 10% evasion. And then Sandstorm here would give you another 25% evasion. So you're running 35% evasion, just generally speaking. Pair this with... I don't know who learns Sandstorm in Little Cup. But have some way to set sand. I don't think Murkrow does. Let's see, hold on. Prankster. Sandstorm. Nothing has Sandstorm in Little... Oh, wait, no! No, I'm a fool. You don't need any of that. This little guy does. He's got Sandstream. So you'd pair Gible with Hippopotas, get Sand in on Switch. You can run Sandville Bright Powder. You've now got 35% evasion. You can actually afford to do, like, Dragon Dance. If you learn Dragon Dance. You can't learn Dragon Dance. Swords Dance? You can do a different kind of dance. Yes. Applin is not viable. Applin only learns 2 moves. Applin is basically Magikarp. You cannot use Applin in Little Cup. It just won't work. But yeah, it's rough. Finding the moves you want is really hard. That's why I like Charmander is like Heat Wave, Overheat, Dragon Pulse, and Terra Blast. I never clicked any of the moves that weren't Heat Wave. But yeah, Gible, you can just like potentially buy yourself some turns with Swords Dance, and then you probably just want to run like learn High Horsepower. What ground moves does this guy learn? What do you got? Not a lot. It looks like you're... Oh, this could be fun. Sand Tomb could be fun, actually. Hold on. You could run... I mean, ideally you're going to want to run Earthquake, right? But you got to have a way to not hit your partner, which might be challenging. So you could actually have some fun here. You could, like, set up the blender. You've got chip damage from Sandstorm coming in, which is like a 1/16 of their life every turn. And then you've got Sand Tomb, which I believe is 1/8 of their life every turn. So you're doing 3/16 of their life every turn if you get Sand Tomb to connect in Sandstorm. And they can't escape that for 4 to 5 turns. So you can get like some very solid chip out while you continue to set up or whatever. You've got good evasion with Bright Powder and Sand Veil, I think. As long as your Sandstorm is up. And the Hippopotas can do whatever it needs to do. A real Sand Shark of a moveset, yeah? Yeah, I agree. And then, like, I don't know, like, Dragon Claw, right? And then, I don't know, Protect? Something like that? I don't know. But I think you'd be all set. That's how I'd run this guy. Make advantage of Sand Veil Bright Powder. At Worlds, we actually saw a Articuno run this same strategy, more or less. Articuno has the snow version of this ability, Snow Cloak, where it also gets 25% evasion in snow, and it was also holding a Bright Powder, and its just entire strategy was fire off Blizzard after Blizzard and pray you don't get hit. Just ride that evasion all the way to the bank. And it made its day 2 of Worlds, so there's something there, I think. Sand Archetype could definitely be fun, I think. The other fun bonus about Sand, if it's mentioned here, it's not mentioned here. As of, I think it's actually always been this way. Rock types get 50% bonus special defense in Sand. So that's like a free Eviolite or Assault Vest. So if you have your Assault Vests doled out and your Eviolites doled out to other Pokemon, if you've got a Rock type and you're running a Sand team, you can effectively get like a second Assault Vest without the restriction of not being able to use status moves also. And I think finding ways to buff your stats is really, really good in Little Cup because the stats are so low. That's why I was like, choice item for every guy. Choice specs, choice band, Assault Vest. Let's go. We just have to juice these numbers to as high as they will conceivably go. There's no other way. I think that could be very good. I don't know what Rock type you'd bring in Little Cup, but maybe Dwebble. If Dwebble were legal, you could bring Dwebble and get some special defense or something like that. It could be cool. That is what I would do with Gibble. I think Gibble might actually have a pretty bright future. Oh, speaking of setting up stats like this, one other thing I neglected to mention about my Little Cup team that I did bring that didn't end up being useful, but was kind of fun. I had mentioned being hesitant about having Haze on Murkrow, because I didn't really think it would be useful, where it eliminates all stat changes. I brought this primarily because I was running Close Combat on Mudbray, which again, I never clicked. But this lowers your defenses by 1 stage, and because I was running Overheat on Charmander, where I was like, if I absolutely positively need to delete something right now, 130 power times all of those 1.5 modifiers, this has the trade-off of lowering your special attack by 2 stages, so it halves every turn that you use this, and I'd be locked in with my choice item, which is scary. So I was like, okay, Haze. Purge off those stat debuffs from my own guys. Would Mareep have a future in this format? I love Mareep, but it's kinda underwhelming. Let's see. I don't know what Mareep's stats look like. We're about to find out. We'll go on this journey together. Mareep. So this is doubles. So and if you're at 50, what are we looking at here? So 65 special attack is not bad. This is higher than Charmander has, if memory serves it, or it's the same as Charmander. Speed's kind of lacking. 65 special attack is kind of cool. I would do something like that. I don't know what your other coverage moves might want to be. Honest to God, couldn't tell you. Maybe D-Gleam. Power Gem. Hidden Power doesn't exist anymore. Yeah, so actually I wouldn't use that ability, because if you're getting hit in Little Cup, it's bad. Like, you need to... It's kill or be killed. It's really dog-eat-dog out here. That's Mareep right there, baby. So I would actually run plus, because this is doubles. Now, let me find out who has minus in Little Cup. Yes, exactly. Let me see real quick. Not many guys in Little Cup. Manectric is the only one who currently exists. No! Does Manectric exist in Gen 9? I don't remember. Yeah, okay, I think none of these guys exist in Gen 9 as it currently stands. I don't think Manectric is around. I feel like I'd remember if it was. So, you'd have to run Static, which is, I think, not optimal here. But if you could run minus, then you could get that sweet 1.5 bonus, kind of like what Charmander has, which I think would make it viable. So maybe in the DLC, if they add some more guys with minus or whatever, Mareep could have a future. That could be fun. But unfortunately, right now, I think it's kind of rough. Static is only good if you've got the durability to tank those hits where you get hit by a physical move, and I don't think Mareep has it. If you really wanted to lean into Static, you'd be doing something like Cotton Guard, Reflect, and you wouldn't have your choice item. You'd be running Eviolite for sure, and so you just like run Cotton Guard, Reflect, and like not take any physical damage. I don't know what you'd run on this guy, and then I guess just like Thunderbolt, something like that. But Cotton Guard's not bad if you can get it to use it first. If you're in like Tailwind or Trick Room or something, you get not 1, not 2, but 3 stages of defense. So your defense will immediately be 2.5 times what it was in the physical dimension. So let's say we max out our defense here. Plus, minus. So with no bonuses, we're at 101 defense. With Eviolite, we're at 150 defense. With a Cotton Guard, we are at 375 defense, which is pretty good. And then you can tank those hits from static, I guess, and get paralyses off, which is like maybe kind of cool. If you get reflect off in doubles, that reduces damage by another 33%, I think it is. It's been a while since I've set up screens. So then you'd effectively have like 450 defense, something like that. Which is like getting into funny numbers. And then you could click Cotton Guard again and you'll have like 800 defense or whatever, which is cool. Oh wait, hold on. Does this guy learn... if they learned Body Press, you'd actually have a future here. Body Press is a move that does damage based on your defense stat rather than your offensive stat. So if you could run Cotton Guard, Body Press, you'd be good. But it can't. Mareep is going to have a rough time. Aw, man. Yeah. Sorry. But this is why Little Cup is like a fun thought experiment. So close to being excellent. Yeah, okay, so one other thought I had for my team was I wanted to run on Mudbray instead of Inner Focus potentially, though I think Inner Focus was the right call. I wanted to run Own Tempo, which prevents you from being confused, and still makes you immune to Intimidate. But then I wanted to run this move, which I can't run on Murkrow, Swagger. Let's actually go... Let's go to a box. Let me explain what these things do. So I wanted to run Swagger. And so what this move does, if I can find a guy who will let me show it off. Does anybody? Wait, okay, so in previous generations, Murkrow got Swagger, but not this one. Which is fair. So what Swagger does is it raises the target's attack by 2, so it's doubling their attack, and it confuses them. So, like, the theory is you'd use it on an enemy, and they'd hit themselves really hard in their confusion. Like, if you really wanted to be rolling the dice. Or you'd cast it on a guy who's a special attacker and doesn't make use of that bonus, and they're just confused now. Which is cool. But what I would want to do is side target that into Mudbray, who's running Own Tempo, which prevents them from being confused. So you just get the bonus and aren't confused. So now you're running around potentially with a Choice Band. So that's 1.5 bonus, and then 2 on top of that from Swagger, and just let Earthquakes rip like really, really hard. And then you can just keep clicking Swagger into your Mudbray, and keep stacking up those attack bonuses. But unfortunately, Murkrow does not learn Swagger this generation. And then instead of Misdreavus, my last guy was going to be Drifloon, who is a flying type, so they're immune to Earthquake, and they were going to have Unburden, and they were going to get Mirror Herb, or Hold Mirror Herb. So Unburden doubles your speed when you lose your held item, which is pretty cool. And then Mirror Herb is a consumable item that you can obviously lose by consuming it, which when an opposing Pokemon raises a stat stage, you copy it, and then you consume the herb. So Murkrow could then Swagger an opponent, Drifloon can copy that stat change, consume the Mirror Herb, and get double speed. This was my like grand plan when I was visualizing the Earthquake Heat Wave paradigm here. But unfortunately, Murkrow did not learn Swagger this generation, so I was not able to use it. And then, yeah, so you can run, like, Acrobatics, which is a physical flying move, so you get Stab on it, which power doubles if you have no held item, which you won't, and you'll have doubled your attack. So, like, after all of that, we've got 50. Say I wanted to go all in on Speed, which is unnecessary here, and then Attack, which is a very low stat, plus, minus. So this would bring me up to 224 attack, off of a base 110 power move here, with same type attack bonus. That's like 160-ish, 175 power. Pretty cool. And you'd be immune to Earthquake, so you could just keep letting those go. I think Misdreavus was ultimately the right call, just because it was way more defensive. But in a hyper-offense lineup, this was a funny idea to me as well. Just being able to, like, copy a stat boost and get all of these things, all these pieces moving at the same time. But yeah, okay. I think that's probably a good stopping point. We've been at it for like an hour and a half. Unless anybody else wants to talk about fun little guys. I'm always happy to talk about little guys. I kind of prefer talking about them to the big guys. But, yeah, that's pretty much that. I had a lot of fun at the tournament. It was I learned about pickup, which I wasn't expecting to do. I love these little dudes, right? I kind of want to run like a monthly online Little Cup tournament after this. because I felt so energized after thinking about this for like a week and then playing. It felt so refreshing compared to power creep that we see in the actual mainline competitive stuff. And there's always new little guys to have, so it's a lot of fun. Yeah, so I don't know. I might run like a online ladder, or not ladder, online bracket or something like that. It could be fun. Yeah, right. Like I think there's a market for it. I felt really good about it, and I'd like to see more people be able to participate. It was nice. But yeah, that's Little Cup in a nutshell. So that's gonna do it for me, I guess. I'll start wrapping up here. Go for it. Try Small Live. Try some new guys. They added a whole bunch more guys in the DLC. Lots of returning friends, like Vulpix, like I was talking about. Poliwag, etc., etc. Very exciting. Anyway, yeah. So I'm gonna wrap it up. It's getting late. You'll probably see me again Friday, starting around the same time. I'm gonna be back at it with my ribbon quest. I have to catch up to where I was on the battle tower. I got knocked out on the 35th of 50 attempts. Or 50 floors on the battle tower. We'll have to go catch up again and see if we can get to 50 this time. I'm trying to get every ribbon in the entire game on my Torkoal. I'm a decent way of the way there. Hold on, let me show you where I am. Games. There we go, hold on. Yeah. So I'm this far into my ribbon quest. I'm at 21 out of 32. And after we get the final Battle My Son ribbon, the super one. Where's my ribbon tracker? After we get this one, it's all downhill. Like, fighting the Elite Four, easy. Battle Tower in Gen 7, easy. Battle Tower in Gen 8, easy. Championship ribbons, easy. I don't know what this one is. I've never done a Battle Royal. We'll find out. But, it's gonna be... This one's going to be tricky, and then we'll see if I can get the Master Rank ribbon. I should be able to. I've always been able to get Master Ball in every other season, so it shouldn't be hard. But we're in the home stretch. Less than a third of them left to go. We're really bottlenecked behind the Battle My Zone here. That'll be Friday at probably around the same time, 7 p.m. EST. I think it's like 8 a.m. JST, 4 p.m. PST. Fully ribboned turtle coming soon. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it a lot. I don't think they added any new ribbons in the DLC, unfortunately. I was getting all excited, ready to add more to this this rental here. Or not rental, sorry. Ribbon tracker. But it is what it is. Let's find that again. So these have been fun. I do all my capture off of my For Real 3DS. And if you're excited about that, please stop by. Give me the follow so you'll be notified when I go live next. Though, again, that will be most likely Friday, this coming Friday, at 7, I think. We'll see. I'll keep you posted on Twitter, co-host, the like. I'll whisper into your ear and tell you when the next stream is. So with that said, let's go find somebody to raid into. That would be a lot of fun. Twitch.tv, who's live? Who's good? Who's at it right now? Let's see, is there anybody in the Pokemon category that would be cool? Anybody I know? A lot of people playing the Pokemon DLC. I don't want to spoil anybody by just sending them straight in there. That's me. Rating people is the hardest part about streaming, actually, I think. I'm going to send you guys to channel mainstay and friend of mine, Dot Level. LVL. Dot is playing, it looks like a Garfield game for the Famicom, which is, I guess, par for the course with how Dot does what Dot does. So go be nice to her, please. Tell her how cool Garfield is. It is Monday after all, so I guess it makes sense. And yeah, that's going to do it for me. I'll be back on Friday with more 3DS action, like I was saying. And thanks everybody for hanging around and listening to me do Team Report. If this was well received, let me know on like Twitter or whatever, or like DM me, email me, however you want to get in touch. Tell me that this was fun. I'll try and do more of these when I make more teams in the future. Like whatever team that Torkoal ends up on, I'll do a team report for. And then sometime throughout this week and into next week, I'll try and record a condensed version of this with like nice edited graphics and everything and talk about the team process in a more coherent way and make a nice little 15-minute YouTube video or something like that. I think that'd be a fun project. But that's going to do it for me. So, bonus Sarah, and good night.